Yeah, I'm very good, thanks. Nice to meet you. I've seen a lot of the good posts you've been submitting on community. Thanks for sharing those.
Well, thanks for making that available to us.
Yeah,
Super helpful.
yeah, of course. It's
Jen, what company are you with?
Kids though.
Oh, cool, nice. It's nice
Yeah,
to finally meet you.
I spent some quality time with you too. Thank you for being available.
Yeah, of course.
yeah, of course. That's what we're here for. Um, okay, perfect. Hey, Alistair. Hey, Phoenix.
Hello.
Hey. Okay, I guess we can get started. I know there's a couple other people that just reached out a little while ago asking the about the event, so I'll cover it again if needed. Um, but okay, I'm gonna share my screen here. Can everybody see it?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So two things that I wanted to cover today, based on the requests from last week. So the first is linking table records. So I think it was in R198 or 199 or around late last year, we released the ability to add linked table records. So essentially what this does is this allows you to create a relationship between a record in one table to one or many records in another table. So to demo this, we put together a very simple, oh, sorry, this is being used. Just a very simple two tables. There's one table that's work orders. So it has the ID, the due date, as you need, like regular fields like you're used to in your tables. But then if you see here, it has this one here that's a linked, um, a linked table record. So essentially, you can see here, this one is a many to one relationship, meaning that there can be many, like a desk or a chair. So this is pointing to the product table, which is this one here that has all the products that I have available. So here it's desk and chair, but you can imagine like a whole big list of parts. So you can have like one desk can be used in many work orders. So if you need to know like the weight, for example, for shipping or whatever it is, like, it's always really important to be able to link back. And then you'll see here on the actual product table, we have a link back to where it's being used. So if I come back into the table, so I'll start with everything from the tables interface, then we'll get into using it from the triggers. Let's say I create a new work order. I'll say, okay, work order 987. It's going to be due on the 20th of January. I'll assign it to Gil. And then here, as soon as I select this, I'll see that I have the two records in the product table. So the product table, again, it's this one here that has chair and desk with the weight and some the other information. Just to show you, if I were to create another one, I'll say, okay, stool, this one weighs 4 pounds. I won't link it yet. I'll just create it. And I'll go back here. If I refresh the page, we'll see that we're going to get, if I go into create a new record again, I'll say, okay, work order 987, due on the 20th again, send it to Gil. And now here we have the stool as well. So it's basically now it's linking back directly. So it stays up to date with the product table. So as this changes, you'll be able to see the updates when you go to create a record from the tables interface in the other table that it's linking to. So say I say stool, click create, and there we have it. Now we have, okay, this new work order that was just created on the 20th, signed to Gil, and it has a stool product assigned to it. So now, of course, if we go back to the product table, you'll see that stool is assigned to 987. So it's not assigned, sorry, it's being used in this work order. Now, if I go in, we create another one. I'll say work order, whatever, 674, due on the 28th. I'll assign it to John. I'll say stool again. Okay, create. Okay, no problem. Because I had selected, because this is a many to one relationship, I'm allowed to do that. It's letting me do that. So then if I go back here, we're gonna get a comma separated entry with all the work orders that it's being used. So again, because it's many to one, this list can go on and on. So yeah, I just want to pause there at this point. Are there any questions? Is making sense?
So the on this linked product table, the work order where we have the comma separated list, is that a text string that can then be split into like an array in an app?
So I haven't tried splitting the string actually. We can try it right here. Let me see. Okay, I'll just put a button here to load up the record because I should know that. That's a good thing to know. Into product by ID. I'll just say static value for now. I'll just load up stool because I know that it has 2 linked records. And let's just start by doing that. I'll add a button to go to that step. Okay, perfect. Go to step 1, 2, 3. Okay, great. So now if I go here, okay, let's try loading it up. Good. Now we can just go back in here and display it. So perfect, it's loaded up. Okay, so my assumption from this is that we'll be able to separate it, but as an array, not as a string.
Well, what I was asking is if you import that, link that to a variable or load it into a variable, is it going to create an object variable, or is it going to create a text variable with a list, a comma separated list?
Yeah, I think it's going to create an array.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so yeah, if I essentially put this here, and I think when I do this, it's going to hopefully clarify, but say arrays, I just like get from index an array. Yeah, exactly. And so we can say, okay, let's get index 1 and just store it in a new variable, just work order. So then when I click this, okay, and let's display the work order variable. Yeah, exactly. So does that make sense?
Yep.
What happened there?
Yep, absolutely. I was just curious how that functioned. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, I guess it is somewhat confusing because it's displayed here as a comma separated value, whereas when you actually go use it in the app, it's it's treated as an array. Yeah, good question though. Jennifer, is this making sense to you so far? Have you had the chance to play with linked table records yet?
I have not, but this is really interesting. I'm thinking of a way we could use it.
Oh, nice. What is that way? If you don't mind me asking.
Well, we're having some trouble with, we're bringing image URLs in from MySQL via connector.
Okay.
And getting them to present as an image in the app. I'm not the one working on this app, but my coworker is, and he's having some trouble getting that to work, whereas it works easily in a table. So that's one of the reasons we're asking about using the connector to update a table, so that each time we have a new image that we need to load, it lands in the table and he can access it in the app. Does that make sense?
Sorry, was that Peter you were working with?
It is Peter.
Cool. I think I talked to him yesterday about changing the connector output to be an image URL type.
Mm-hmm.
Did he get a chance to do that? Have you connected with him on if that worked?
I haven't talked to him since I talked him through how to change the output, and I don't know if he's tested it yet.
Okay.
So I wasn't sure whether there was an output type that was image URL, but you're saying that there is, so that's probably resolved our issue.
Yeah, because unfortunately, like there's no expression editor that can take a text string and convert it to like an image URL type. But if you just change it in the connector output itself, there's no need for conversion because it kind of just pulls it in as is.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, and then if I remember correctly, actually, if you don't mind, do you remember what the title of the post was on community? Because I'm just trying to, there's so many posts, I'm just trying to remember.
So give me just a second. I'll pull that up.
Hey, Kristen.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, very good, thanks. Nice to meet you.
You too.
Yeah.
Kristen.
Hi.
Yeah, we're just going over something real quick. We're going over linked table records, but then actually, you know what, Jennifer, if you don't mind, while you're just pulling that up, I'm gonna start showing Kristen something that we had put together because she emailed over a couple of questions beforehand.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, so Kristen, I guess your first question was about creating a table record with an ID that is a basically specific elements of the time and date in the ID field. Is that correct?
Yeah, which Kaylee, is that you from the Who I Deal With?
Yeah.
Hi, Kaylee.
Hi, nice to meet you, or at least
a problem.
virtually.
Yeah. Yeah, because Kaylee sent me a note about that, and I got it like app current info, whatever. But then it just literally wrote that word. It didn't put the date in the ID column. It just literally put that text in the ID column.
Okay, so I can show you what it looks like on my end. So essentially, and I'll go show you the trigger in a second, but it just creates, you want something like this where you can customize. Yeah, okay, perfect. So in here, essentially, sorry, let me just move all this Zoom stuff out of the way. Here, what it's doing, it's using this function called format date TZ. TZ is time zone.
Yeah.
It takes 3 arguments. The first argument is that app info, current date and time. Then the next one is the the format that you'd like to extract from the date and time, so you can customize it however you want. Here it's month, day, year, and then hour, minute, second. But you can again easily change that. And then the last one is the time zone. Yeah, so just really simple table records, create record by ID, where the ID is an expression with format date TZ, and storing it into the work orders.
Do you mind if I jump in for a second? Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
If we're using that for a record ID, in my experience, I've had trouble putting a record ID or a serial number starting formatted month, day, year. They don't sort sequentially once you have more than 1 year of data.
Oh,
So
really
I always
point.
format year, month, day.
Oh, it's a really good point. Yeah. Yeah, so you can do something like this. Another recommendation could also be to essentially have also just store the time in an additional field. So you can come in here and say, okay, app info, current date and time into the table record work order.
The problem I had with that is that when you can't have more than one record with the same date. So if you have a bunch of records created on the same date, and you don't have the time in the ID column, and you can't make them. So that what you have there with the time is perfect.
Yeah, you can include the time. You can also add a like a random string if you don't want to. But yeah, there's multiple ways of doing it. But yeah, you're right. The ID does need to be unique. So, but yeah, this is an important way. And yeah, thanks, Alistair, for that suggestion. So it is better to put it like this, so you can sort it later by year, month, date.
Is everyone else on here a user or a Tulip person?
No, no. Most users. Alistair is a user from a company up in Vermont, and Jennifer. Where's Kitspo based, Jennifer?
We are based in Old Fort, North Carolina, which is really close to Asheville.
Oh, it's a great town. I went there many years ago.
Yeah, it's even better today.
Oh, really?
Well, minus the pandemic.
Okay, yeah, I have to come back.
Well, it's nice to meet everyone. This is my first time.
Yeah, it's great to meet you in person, Kristen. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Jennifer.
I was just going to say it's my first time too, Kristen.
Oh, perfect. Nice to meet you.
So,
Jennifer, wait, where's Phoenix from?
I do work with Tulip.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I sit in on here to just get like a better understanding, like see new use cases and that and whatnot. To the 2 new people who are here, I think you guys might have worked with Mina. I'm one of Mina's colleagues.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So you can see all the recordings for the past office hours, but we have, we always have the three of us from the Tulip end, and then a pretty, like a rotation of users from around the world who join in, kind of just like on a rotating basis. But yeah, Jennifer, were you able to pull up what you wanted to share?
I did, and I made another comment in the string to call it to your attention, but the topic is using connector to update tables.
Oh, thanks. Did you send it in the chat, sorry?
I sent it in the community. Do you want me to link to it in chat?
Oh, no, yeah, here, I can find it. You remember what the title of the post was?
It was using connector to update tables.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. So let me see. Oh, this was just 2 days ago. Okay. Oh, let's use connector to add new records to a table. And this table, is it a Tulip table, just to confirm?
Well, I don't have a table today, but I was curious to know, let's say what if I created a table of all my SKUs? And the source of truth for our SKUs lives in a sheet, which is pushed to MySQL, which
Okay.
is then accessed via connector. So my question was, can I have this update happen automatically? If, let's say, 5 new SKUs are added today, I think the instruction that you gave me would make it possible to push each one individually into the table, but I was hoping that I could have it somehow update automatically when changes are made.
Yeah, so if you connect to the MySQL table, every time the connector function is run, it will get the information that is currently in the table itself. So yeah, does that make sense? You don't have to like go in and update it.
Okay, so what you're saying is that if I add the trigger logic that fires the connector, it's going to grab everything that's new?
Everything, yeah, exactly. It's going to like at that exact moment in time, it's going to go in and here, let me see. I might have actually a demo ready to go. Let me see if I have already a table that I'm connected to that I can modify. Kelly, do you have one by any chance? A table connected to a SQL database and like posting or a client running?
Not a SQL database, no.
Okay. So let me see here. And Jennifer, are you already connected to the MySQL database?
Yes.
Okay, you are. Okay, great. So yeah, I mean, if you're already connected, like yeah, essentially what you were saying earlier, when the connector function runs, it's going to go and at that specific time get all the records that are present in the table.
Okay, so I'll follow the step-by-step information, or you pointed me, I think you pointed me to, no, you gave me some screenshots to follow. And then you said, it said there are some tricks that could be done to simplify the workflow. That's when you invited me to come to the office hours. So maybe what I should do is just take a stab at setting it up the way you've described. And then if I have trouble with that, I could bring it to the coffee hour next week.
Yeah, I think that would be good. So Yeah, so yeah, sorry, it wasn't perfectly clear my response there, but essentially, yeah, I think if you go through and you do that and you try that before, and then next week would be good. But yeah, essentially what because I had misunderstood, I didn't realize you wanted to pull directly from the MySQL database into a Tulip table. I didn't realize that's what you wanted to do.
So I can make that work though, through triggered logic inside of an app. Is that
Yeah, exactly.
okay?
So yeah, I can show you here. Essentially, if you have a button, it doesn't have to be on a button. It can be on a timer or anything else. You can say, okay, when the button is pressed, then you come here, you run the connector function, you select the connector that you want to connect to. And so here you'll have like the MySQL connector set up. And then within there, you'll get a list of all the functions. So you already have all the functions set up in the connector?
Yes.
Oh, you do? Okay, great. So you can click that, and then you can save the result. If it has inputs, it will ask you here for the inputs, and then you can save the result as a variable. So for example, say you have all the SKUs in the table you were mentioning, then you can just come in here and save it as SKUs, and now you have this variable in your app ready to be used.
Okay, and that's updating the table? Sorry.
No, oh, no, oh, sorry. Okay, no, this is not updating the table. Then if you want to save it in the table, then you can come in here and say, but before I get into that, I will provide a word of warning. Like I wouldn't really recommend having two sources of truth. If you have your SKUs in a MySQL database and you've connected to it, you've created the functions, like, yeah, I mean, unless there's like a specific reason, I would try to avoid copying all that information into Tulip table. Or is there a specific reason why you need to have it in a Tulip table?
Sorry, my dog is going nuts.
Oh, no worries.
No, I agree that I wouldn't want to have two sources of truth. I was just imagining a way to sync the two so that they're both kept up to date and available as a table record. But it's possible that we won't need that kind of functionality, especially with what Kaylee was reporting about the output types.
Yeah, okay, great. So yeah, if you can keep everything within the MySQL where it's already there and it's all set up with the connector and the function, like I said, I wouldn't go about the trouble of, and also the risk of duplicating the information and then getting out of sync or whatnot. So I would recommend keeping everything there.
Agree.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Kristen, did you want to go over some of the other questions that you had?
Sure. But my stuff's pretty basic compared to these, but everybody else is doing.
No, it's fine. I mean, we typically cover everything, so it's good, honestly. Whatever, it's important that we just want to help you out, whatever it is that you're working on.
I'm still learning all the basics too, so I benefit from any question that's asked at this point.
One of the things, just like a comment from a user side is like, I've read all your stuff about the expression editors. So say, for example, I see that on it where it says the date _trunk _TZ thing.
Yeah.
But what it doesn't say is like, then put in a bracket, and this is the format of what you should put in the bracket for that expression. And that's the stuff where I kind of hit the wall because, and that's, I think like from a user's perspective, that's where it could be a little intimidating, right?
Yeah. So like this here.
Yeah. And I did all the reading, but like there's nowhere in the reading where it says like what formats of things work within the brackets and that sort of thing. And that's kind of where I'm hitting a wall on doing that stuff independently. Because I don't know where to look to find any. Like I don't like maybe younger people or smarter, I don't know, just know that stuff. But like
No. I mean, I think already if you're using the expression editor, like first of all, that's not basic anymore. That's already like more advanced features. I mean, there's many apps running that don't use the expression editor. So I think already that's an important thing. And then the other thing is it takes some time, like like aside from the expression editor, like really, this is the only part within the platform where like there is some typing involved. But for the rest of it, it's really mostly drag and drop, and you select and buttons and drop downs and whatnot. But the expression editor, yeah, I mean, kind of note taken, feedback taken on the fact that it's not super intuitive, and it's.
Or like, is there somewhere that I just haven't found that tells you what the options are or how things should be formatted in the brackets, or is it just kind of you have to guess?
No, so typically you see here before you click enter. So say you have this, you see here how you get this little tooltip that essentially tells you, okay, the function will turn orange. Then within the function, it takes three arguments. So the first one is a date time or date.
Yeah.
The next one is a text, and the last one is a time zone that is of type text.
So I see that, but what it doesn't show is that to actually do that, you have to have the apostrophes and I get it. It's not as.
Yeah. So we try to clarify it with like the example below.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's also like, for example, if you do max, like in the tooltip here, like we try to be as descriptive as possible, but and it's really similar to, I don't know if you've used kind of the formulas in Excel.
Yeah.
It's really similar. Like the first time you do it, it's always, it's slamming your head against the wall. But then once you figure out how it is, it becomes pretty self-explanatory. But the first time you do it, it definitely does require some patience and just like sitting down for some minutes on the computer and just figuring out how the functions work. But yeah, I mean, it's with regards to the brackets, also there we try to make it as kind of simple as possible. Like if you just click it, it auto completes them for you.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think really the best advice I can give is kind of like just use it, like play around with it as much as you can, like try different things and keep like make mistakes and learn that way.
Right.
Kaylee or Gio, is that link that Kaylee posted to the function of the date TZ, is that somewhere on the support website?
No, I think the Geo posted that on a community thread that was about that format.
Yeah, I think it's linked in one of the articles actually, but it's not directly on there. Yeah. So yeah.
That's a good point though. I can add that to the article.
Yeah. But yeah, sorry, Kirsten, were there other things that you wanted to go over? Because I know you emailed me about a couple of questions. I only have time.
Just let me pull it up here.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if other people do the same, but like, so we're using this to track our production output. Yeah. So in terms of like bin building, we have a way that we did to record. So when you press the button, it records that you've made 46 parts per bin and then writes to a table the amount of scrap that you have. And we found a way that is sort of, I don't know if like Kaylee gave some feedback, which I think was valid, that like our pro logic is a bit complex and maybe not that it more complex than it needs to be. So I just wondered, is there sort of like a recommended manner that you have for how you accumulate and track production?
Yeah, so if I'm not mistaken, there's, are you familiar with the library?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there is, oh no, where is it?
In the knowledge base?
Yeah. So let me see, there's one, production tracking. I think maybe, yeah, production tracking. Have you tried using this app here from the library? Kirsten, have you tried using this app here, or did you just build it yourself from scratch?
We just built it ourselves from scratch.
Okay. Yeah, so I think it may be worth taking a look at this app here, also just to get some ideas how it was built here. You know, you can just get it directly from, I don't know why it's not playing here, but yeah, I think there's, you know, it sounds like, and have you already set up the table where it's writing all the correct information and the scrap and the parts built and everything per bin?
Yeah.
Okay, and so you're just really looking to simplify it a little bit and make it kind of a little bit more streamlined?
Well, our app stopped working, it stopped calculating numbers, and it's just the way it's set up. We had an engineer here that did it, and the way he did it's really quite complicated. And so I feel like we just need to simplify and find an easier way, because I don't know how to fix what's wrong with it.
Yeah, okay. So it's, I mean, if you want to share your screen, we can try to debug it now, but I think maybe it might also be, no, okay. Then either you can start from scratch, but what I would recommend is starting from that app in the library.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alistair, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know you've made some pretty cool apps. Is there like a process or like a way you approach a problem you want to solve when it comes to using Tulip? Maybe you could pass on some words of wisdom being a power user.
So, oh, is that official now? I'm a power user?
in my eyes, yes.
I think Phoenix asked me this question last week, but the way that I learned how to use Tulip is that I just set aside some time and I went into the Tulip trigger editor, and then I looked at each of the drop-down options when you go in to edit a new trigger. Let me pull up a page here so I know what I can talk about what I'm looking at. So I see that the first option is when, and I click at that, and I see that there's 5 options there in the trigger editor. Gio, you want me to share so you don't have to follow along as I talk?
Yeah, awesome. That'd be great.
Okay. All right. So I see that there's 5 options here, and I don't know what any of them did when I first started this, even though I've read the documentation and I sat through a couple of 2-hour-long classes that were hosted by Tulip. It's pretty overwhelming to see what all this stuff does. So I just clicked on them and see what the options are there. I read every single one of these. If I didn't know what it was, I kind of ignored it. But if I knew what it was, then I went and played with it. So I just look and I see what every single option is. So the easiest one for this is when the step is opened. There's no other options there. And I go down through it. I do this for every text, every drop-down box that's on here. The one we use most often is if a variable is something. So these are all the variables that I've created in this app. So I wouldn't necessarily test every single one of those, but
yeah.
And then there's all these options here. And what I've done in my time working to learn how to use Tulip, I've clicked on every single one of these and seen what this does. And if it's pretty intuitive, like that's going to cancel the app, I'm not going to create a trigger and test it. But if I don't know what it does, I'm going to create a trigger and test it and I'm actually going to do it in this app that I'm in right now. So this entire app here is an app that I've created just to teach myself Tulip.
Oh, this is awesome.
One of the things I like to play with is just Boolean logic in general, because it's a really powerful tool if you understand Boolean logic. If then else or statements can become a lot more powerful. And so, oops.
How long have you been using it, Al?
Probably about 1.5 years.
Wow.
And this isn't even really part of my primary job. I'm a quality engineer. This should primarily fall on manufacturing engineers, but I'm also a nerd, so I find spare time to mess with this. And so I just went through and played with logic here to see to see if I could create each of the, when you look into Boolean logic, there's 16 possibilities. And I tried to create an expression in the expression editor that fulfills each of the 16 possible options.
Wow, this is awesome, Alistair. You should share this on community if you can. This is really like, I think, a great way to learn.
Fun with tables. This is one of those tools that I wish I had seen when I first learned Tulip, and it's those interactive embedded tables, and you can add those to your apps using this button.
Yeah.
But this existed in Tulip when I first started, but I've been working around not knowing it was there for a very long time. But it allows you to put a table into your app, and then you can filter it by whatever value you want.
Yeah. A year and a half ago, it was already around?
I believe so.
Okay, yeah.
I remember seeing in one of my first classes, somebody used it and showed how you could use it to filter open work orders, but I did not pick up on it because I was so overwhelmed with all the other information that was there.
Yeah.
So let me see here. There we go. I usually need to turn on my camera when I start talking, but I forgot. So that was a great tool that I didn't know was there, and I've learned how to use fairly effectively. We use, this is our manufacturing order or our work order ID here. This is our item number, and I've created a table that allows me to search the table we use to track our manufacturing orders by either the work order number or the item number. So so I started working with Cognex cameras to try and figure out how those would work with Tulip, and so I created a few pages that test with those. I don't have one connected right now, so I'm not going to show that. We bought a gateway, so I wanted to play with a few things on that. I didn't like the way that the app was set up to track the states of the different pins, so I created a maybe I unplugged it. But yeah, that's just what I did to learn Tulip. Is I played, came up with an idea, said, "What I wonder if this is possible," and then I tested it, try to figure out how to do it. Yeah. Sometimes the playing was directed by a use case that we needed and a goal that we had. But.
Yeah, thanks, Alistair. That's really, it's awesome to see what, I mean, yeah, I guess a year and a half, and now like that's, but you're already like really comfortable in Tulip. Probably like what? How long did it really take you before you were like felt comfortable building apps on a regular basis?
So building basic apps where we're just using the next button and maybe a couple of text inputs from the user, I think that only took me about a month to get comfortable doing that. Yeah. And then I would say that I was starting to do experimentation like this after about 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you know, there's people at Tulip who have been using the app builder for years, and they're still learning, you know. So I think but essentially, like, where you're able to like really start doing useful things, it does take a couple of months. I was just like, yeah, learning any way you want. I think this is a great way of learning. Doing use case specific things, like Alistair was mentioning as well, is another good way. But you know, I think you do need to put in some time.
So I think I glossed over the goal. When I'm doing this is not to know every single one of these options inside and out. My goal is to kind of get a mental inventory of the tools that I have available to me. So when I'm presented with a problem, I have an idea of what's possible, so I can start coming up with potential solutions.
That's really neat.
Thank you.
It's very helpful. I wish all of my teammates were on this call right now seeing this.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know. Well, I did because Tulip kind of set up something similar, basic to what you just described, with the basic instruction, like where you went through and did the things. Where I did that anyways at the start, but I never thought to go in and do the complex ones. And this is really neat. You could probably sell this to them. I think you maybe just need to
Yeah.
Maybe I'll start doing some work outside of my main job as a consultant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really neat.
Thank you. Do you have any questions, or is there any sections of it that you guys want to see before I shut it off?
Like 1,000 questions, but probably not the time.
This is the perfect time. That's the whole point of this, isn't it?
Yeah,
Oh, it's
exactly.
really, this is really great. I think this is and you guys do this every week?
Yeah, 3 times a week.
Really? When? Oh, that's great. Okay.
I mean, the other ones are for EU, and then there's one in Spanish. So I think probably for you, you're based in the East Coast, right?
I don't, my Spanish isn't that good. It would probably complicate too if I started off with trying to
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the one for the East Coast is this one here, Thursdays at 11.
Awesome.
Yeah, if you want to invite also your colleague that was mentioned had built some of the more complex apps, feel free to do so.
No. See, the issue is like anywhere, and I'm sure your organizations may have the same issue. Like we had him here and he was our guy, and then he left and he took all that knowledge with him. So he built all the apps, and it like he was kind of the mind behind the logic that worked in that way. And then when he left, we lost all that expertise, and I'm left like, if something breaks and it's like I don't know,
Yeah. I think that's why it's really important to build apps. It's like it is intended to be a team tool, not to be used individually. So it's really easy when people are building apps to kind of get carried away and just add a lot of complexity. But it's really, if it doesn't make sense to anybody but yourself, it's really not. It can be pretty problematic, specifically for the reason where you're describing, where it's like then somebody leaves, you're kind of stuck without much, a little bit, without much help. But I mean, yeah, if you want to share your screen, we can try taking a look, and we have.
I actually think that I think I can do what I need to do now, and I don't want to bore everybody with my specific problems. But
no, but like Al was saying, this is exactly what this is for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate it, and I'm gonna go back, and probably what I'll do is tinker around with the stuff that we talked about, and then if I come back, next time we're back, maybe then I'll be able to show this is kind of how I'm fixing the problems if there's any issues.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think it's really important, like when you're learning anything new, it's you'll do something, then maybe you'll hit a little bit of a wall, and like not get discouraged, like bring those problems you have to the next session, will help you overcome them, and then it's just like continuously growing like that. So but I think it's important to like keep the momentum going.
When you get library apps, so if you see an app in the library, like then you reach out to your team and then you guys add it to our account, is that?
Yeah, so that was the case, you're right, until about, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago or something. Now you can just do it yourself. So you
can you show us how, or does everyone else know how?
So here, let me just share the link. Where I thought I just had it open. Yeah, let me just share my screen. So okay, say I want this one here just because it's the first one in. Oh, sorry, let me just move it here. Install app. Here, I'll put in my instance. Click get. Click install.
Oh.
Yeah, and then it just puts it in the Tulip library folder, and it's here. It's and it's ready to go.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So no, this is So like you pointed out, until 2 weeks ago, it had to be done manually by us, but we released the public version of the library 2 weeks ago. So yeah, it's also, I mean, you can go through all of these, get all of them. I mean, if you want to get all of them, it might take a little while, but yeah, you can get all of them. And even just like as a learning experience, I think it's really good, just like try any app that you want, get it on your instance, and then like even looking around, seeing how the triggers are done, how the tables are done, because once you import the apps, it also imports all the tables and connectors that are tied with it. Yeah, so it's really good as a learning thing. It's kind of like, okay, you can come in here, see, these are like built by an internal team within Tulip, so it's really good to come in here and just see, okay, this is how they do various things. They're storing table record in a variable, whatever it is. Like it's just a good learning resource.
That's awesome. Okay, I apologize. I gotta run another meeting, but
no,
I will be back for sure. This is awesome.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Yeah. I mean, and in the future, if you want to post your questions ahead of time, are you on community on the website, by the way, as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you want to post them there or just show up and ask them, whatever works best for you. But looking forward to seeing you here next week then.
This is good news for Kaylee, because right now, whenever I hit a wall, I just ask Kaylee.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I mean, yeah, Kaylee's an awesome builder, of course, but this as well, we get perspective from different users as well. So it's always, Tulip is intended to be collaborative. So the more people there are, the better it is.
Awesome. Okay, have a great day, everybody.
All right.
Hey, Kristen.
Bye.
Good
Bye.
one.
Okay, awesome. Jennifer, did you have other thing that you wanted to go over aside from the MySQL and table?
I don't right now, but what I'm going to do is go share with my coworkers how valuable this experience is and encourage them to sign up. And also, I just like to say that when I was in the sales process, if I'd been invited to sit in on this hour, that would have helped so much, because I didn't understand how powerful the support options were going to be. And that was one of our concerns. All being new to this, we're not programmers, we needed to know that we were going to be supported. And that wasn't communicated very well to me during the sales process. So I'm just throwing it out that if you invite a prospective customer to sit in on one of these, that could be super valuable to them.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think that's important. I mean, like we record them and then publish them on YouTube, and they're available as assets for prospective people who are considering buying Tulip to look at. But I think you're right. Like actually being invited live and just joining and seeing what's available. I think you're right. It's a powerful thing. I mean, I think
well, so that's new information too. So I signed up for a trial account. I took a number of the university courses and tried to build my own app. So I kind of jumped in and tried to teach myself as much as possible. I did find some instructional videos on YouTube, but I wasn't aware that this was recorded and posted on YouTube. So even if you're not live in the room, if you can watch the recording, that just knowing that that's available would have been really helpful to me.
Yeah. Okay. That's really good to know. I mean, I'll reach out to the whole sales team actually after this and mention you said that, because I think you're right. Like it's especially when, people are making a decision to start building apps that maybe with something that haven't done before. It's really important that we communicate that we have a good support structure. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, also the community site is, available. So if I'll also include that, because I think it's important to share that with people that they can take a look at and see that, we're responsive on there and we help the best way we can. Yeah, thanks again for sharing that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'll definitely be back.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and by the way, if there's something specific that you'd like us to cover, come here and ask the question right then and there, or post it ahead of time so I can prepare a quick demo or something as well. That'd be good.
Okay, and I'll share that with my teammates too.
Yep. Yeah. If you want me to add them to the invite, either send me all their emails or send them the link to the posting community.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. And Alistair, did you have questions that you wanted to cover, or?
No, I just got on the Hangout and see if we could pick anything up.
Yeah, awesome. I'm trying to think. Let me see from the last release if there's anything new that we haven't covered. So release 198. No, yeah, we covered barcodes last week, right?
Yes.
Yeah, covered that. And then most of the other ones were were bug fixes that we did. Yeah, and then this is a pretty minor one. But yeah, I think yeah, I'm just trying to think if I've seen anything cool in the past couple of weeks that is worth sharing. But I think most of it we already shared here in these office hours. So yeah. Yeah. Yeah, awesome. I mean, if there are quite other questions, we're gonna be hanging out. Otherwise, yeah, thanks everyone for joining. I think it was a really good session today. Thanks again, Al, for sharing that the way you learned with Kristen, because I think it's awesome to see, you know, when different ways that people learn. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was super valuable. Again, I wish my coworkers had seen that.
Well, this
That's a
was
good
recorded,
idea.
so we could just
Yeah.
shoot them a link to the video if they want it.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone.
Yep. Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye. Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye bye.